Welcome back to the channel. I've spent quite a lot of time playing Soulland Global, and today I want to sit down and share everything I experienced, from the gameplay and character system to the part everyone cares about the most, monetization. If you're a fan of Soulland or Douluo Dalu, then this video is definitely for you. And if you're simply looking for a new mobile MMORPG to grind, stick around and let me break everything down before you decide whether it's worth downloading. First of all, Soulland Global is introduced as the first Soulland open-world MMORPG. That means it's the first open-world online RPG based on the Soulland IP. And when I first jumped into the game, my initial impression was that it really lives up to that claim. It doesn't just borrow the Soulland name as a skin. Instead, it genuinely tries to recreate an interconnected open world where you can travel from one region to another without constantly being interrupted by loading screens like in many previous turn-based gacha games. Iconic locations that fans of the original series will immediately recognize, such as Star Dou Forest, Sea God Island, Holy Soul Village, and Martial Soul Hall, have all been faithfully recreated. I think this is a huge plus because, as a fan myself, being able to walk through the same world I've read about and watched in the anime feels much more immersive than simply staring at characters standing still in a lobby. From a technical standpoint, the game is published by Funity and is available on both Google Play and the App Store. The download size is around 1.5 gigabytes, which isn't particularly large by today's MMORPG standards. It requires iOS 11.0 or later, so even slightly older devices can still run it. The recommended age rating is 13+, and it supports multiple languages, including English, Indonesian, Simplified Chinese, Thai, and Traditional Chinese. On top of that, there's also a Windows version, as well as support for Huawei App Gallery. So if you're not used to playing on a phone, you can easily enjoy the game on PC instead. That's something I really appreciate because not every mobile MMO is willing to release a proper PC version. Now, let's move on to the most important part, the gameplay. The core gameplay loop in Soulland Global is actually quite familiar if you've played MMORPGs before. You create your character, awaken your martial soul, level up, explore the world, complete quests, participate in group activities, and gradually progress toward more competitive game modes. However, what really makes this game stand out to me is the martial soul class system. Instead of choosing traditional classes like warrior, mage, or archer as you would in most fantasy MMOs, here you awaken your own martial soul, and that martial soul completely defines your combat style and your role within a team. I think this is a very clever way to build the class system because it stays true to the original lore while also making your character feel unique, instead of simply selecting the same predefined class as everyone else. As for PvE, this part focuses heavily on exploration, giving players the experience of traveling across the vast open world through the major locations of Soulland. I have to be honest, the game doesn't clearly list specific dungeons or raid bosses by name, but the overall feeling while playing is that it's designed as a journey focused on immersion, rather than simply farming maps for experience points. When it comes to PvP, the biggest highlight is undoubtedly the Martial Soul Peak Tournament, a large-scale competitive arena where the strongest Soul Master teams from the server and even across the entire continent compete for the highest title. This isn't just a small-scale 1v1 PvP mode. It's a full-fledged endgame activity that demands proper team coordination and well-built characters. If you're someone who enjoys competitive gameplay and proving your strength against the entire server, then this mode will probably keep you invested for a very long time. Beyond combat, the game also puts a considerable amount of effort into its social ecosystem. There are built-in chat and messaging systems, various community activities, and I can clearly feel that the developers want to build an MMO where you don't play alone, but actually make friends, form teams, join guilds, and participate in cross-server events together. On top of that, the cosmetic system has also received plenty of attention, offering a wide variety of outfits with free combination options, allowing you to mix and match your character's appearance however you like. This is definitely a plus if you enjoy fashion, role-playing, or customizing your character's look, At the same time, it's also a sign that the game leans heavily toward a live service model, meaning there will be regular events, gift packs, and an in-game shop running continuously. When it comes to graphics, Soulland Global adopts a 3D anime art style aiming to recreate the look of Chinese animation blended with Eastern fantasy. I think the game's ambition is to present players with an expansive world rather than simply focusing on characters standing in one place like previous idle or turn-based Soulland titles. As for the audio, honestly, I don't want to make any strong claims because voice acting and the soundtrack are things you really need to experience for yourself to fully appreciate. I'm not going to oversell that aspect. Now let's move on to what I think is the most important part for anyone considering downloading the game: its strengths and weaknesses. Starting with the positives, the first and most obvious one is that this game delivers excellent fan service. The familiar maps, familiar martial souls, and familiar lore are all wrapped into an open-world MMORPG format that's much more accessible than rereading the novel or rewatching the anime. The second advantage is that the game genuinely feels populated. From the social ecosystem and team activities to cross-server tournaments, this is the kind of game that's perfect for players who enjoy lively communities with guilds, server wars, and constant events. The third strength is the game's well-developed live service support. There are regular events, daily login rewards, cross-promotions, an in-game shop, and an official community that remains consistently active, showing that the publisher appears committed to supporting the game over the long term, rather than launching it and abandoning it. That said, I also have to be honest about the areas you should carefully consider before jumping in. First, this is clearly a free-to-play mobile MMORPG with a strong focus on monetization. The game openly includes in-app purchases as well as loot boxes, meaning there are gacha-style random reward mechanics. If you're someone who dislikes systems based on pulls or opening packs, this is definitely something you should keep in mind. Second, the publisher advertises that even free-to-play players can progress smoothly, but I want to emphasize that this is an official marketing claim, not a guaranteed promise of perfect balance between free players and paying players. The actual differences in power, gear progression, and potential paywalls during the late game can only be judged accurately after spending significant time with the game. It's not something you should accept solely based on marketing language. Third, because this is fundamentally a live service MMO, the constant event schedule, server competition, and never-ending progression loop may feel overwhelming or become tiring for players who aren't used to this type of gameplay. This isn't the kind of game you casually play for a few hours and move on from. It's an entire ecosystem that expects regular commitment if you want to keep up. So, to sum everything up, I think Soulland Global is an open-world MMORPG that does an excellent job serving fans of the Soulland IP. It offers familiar locations, a martial soul system that stays true to the original source material, a lively multiplayer atmosphere, and a well-developed layer of competitive endgame content through the Martial Soul Peak Tournament. However, because it's a free-to-play mobile MMO featuring loot boxes and in-app purchases, I believe it's better suited for players who enjoy long-term progression and active community-driven gameplay than for those who are simply looking for a casual, story-focused Soulland experience. My recommendation is this: if you're a dedicated Soulland fan and you enjoy MMORPGs with strong social elements, then I definitely say it's worth downloading and trying, because the open world and martial soul system have clearly been built with a lot of care. On the other hand, if you don't enjoy games with gacha mechanics, paid packs, or daily grinding, then you should think carefully before committing. At the very least, try the early game first, pay attention to the event schedule and the pace of character progression, and then decide whether it's something you want to stick with in the long run. That's everything I've observed and experienced during my time with Soulland Global. I hope this gives you a more objective perspective before deciding whether to step into the world of Soulland Global. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so I can continue bringing you more high-quality reviews. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.